Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi allazina istafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbana afrigh alayna sabran wa sabbit aqdamana wansurna ala al-qawmil kafirin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. The next dua, which is mentioned in Surah Baqarah, is the following dua, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rabbana, that O our Lord, O our Rabb, afrigh alayna sabran, that pour upon us patience, sabr, wa thabbit aqdamana, and plant firmly our feet, make us steadfast, wansurna ala al-qawmil kafirin, and grant us victory over the disbelieving people. This dua, which is mentioned in Surah Baqarah, inshallah, we'll first mention the context of this dua. Then we'll try to understand what this dua is saying. And inshallah, at the end, we'll try to relate this dua to our own times. That how can we benefit from this dua? When can we use this dua? How powerful this dua is for our daily life. So first, the context, that in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala teaches us that when did the people who made this dua, when did they make this dua? So the context goes back to the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, that when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, he was saved by Allah Ta'ala from Fir'aun, and with Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he had his tribe, the Bani Israel, the followers of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. So they crossed the river, Fir'aun was drowned, and now the Bani Israel, they were commanded to go back to their homeland, which was Palestine. They were originally from Palestine, and during the time of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, they had settled in Egypt. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them this command that go back to your original homeland, which is Palestine. So after giving a defeat, after Fir'aun was defeated and Fir'aun drowned, so Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and the entire Bani Israel, they're now in this desert, which is called the Sinai Desert. If you see on the map, there is this desert, Sinai Desert, and this desert comes on the way towards Palestine. So this was the hukum that Allah Ta'ala had given to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, that take your Qawm Bani Israel and you should go and settle in Palestine. What happened was that in Palestine, meanwhile, there was a very powerful army a very powerful community that was ruling there by the name of Amalika, the Amalekites. So in Palestine, this group, the Amalekites or the Amaleka, they had taken control of the entire city. They were dominant and they were ruling there. So when this command came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and the Bani Israel that you should go back to your homeland Palestine, they realized that we'll have to do jihad. We'll have to fight the Amaleka, this powerful group. So Bani Israel, they refused. And we know Bani Israel, they were very rebellious people. They would not even listen to their own prophet, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. And they started creating excuses, giving excuses and saying that, oh Musa alayhi salam, you go and fight with your Lord. We will just stay here. We don't want to do jihad. They're very strong people. The Amaleka, they're Jabbar, they're strong. And we don't have the ability to fight them. You go. You can go, you can take your brother along with you. So they were very disobedient, very rebellious, and they refused to obey this command of Allah Ta'ala. And when they refused to obey the command of Allah Ta'ala, then Allah Ta'ala, as a punishment to Bani Israel, Allah Ta'ala said that, okay, they will now roam around in this wasteland for the next 40 years. So the next 40 years, they were in this desert, this Sinai desert, this plain, which is called Plain Tih. And in that valley, they would just be roaming around here and there for the next 40 years. They were not able to settle in any city. And they spent the next 40 years there. During this time, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he also passed away. And his deputy was Hazrat Yusha bin Nun alayhi salam, who was also a prophet of Allah Ta'ala. And Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, he then tried to motivate his people, the remaining Bani Israel, tried to motivate them, incentivize, give them some ghaira, that what is wrong with you? Why aren't you fulfilling the command of Allah? Fighting in the cause of Allah is such a big blessing. It's a ni'mat, it's an opportunity. Allah's help will be with you. So, take the name of Allah and fight. Allah's help will be with you. So when he motivated his people, finally the people got enough courage and they said, we will do this jihad, we'll fight. So they started making preparation. And initially they won over a few cities as well. So a few nearby regions, they were victorious. But the major city of Palestine was still in the control of the Amalekites. And those Amalekites were very strong, very powerful. So Bani Israel, when they came near Palestine, they started saying that, okay, give us a king. We cannot fight on our own. So they said to their prophet that make dua to Allah, that Allah Ta'ala sends us a king, a ruler. And then under the guidance of that ruler, we can prepare for this jihad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there was a prophet at that time by the name of Hazrat Shamuel alayhi salam. And he made dua to Allah Ta'ala, which is mentioned in the Quran as well. And then as a result, Allah Ta'ala gave Bani Israel a king, a ruler by the name of Talut. That we are sending you Talut, who will be your ruler, your king, and you can prepare for this battle under his leadership. He will lead you. He will lead you to fight the Amalekites in Palestine. So initially, the Bani Israel, they were not happy with this decision. That why is Talut made a king over us? There should be a king from someone within us. And Talut, he does not have the qualities and the abilities to be a king. So initially, they were complaining about this choice as well. But eventually, Hazrat Shamuil alayhi salam, their Nabi, he persuaded them and they finally agreed to having Talut as their leader, as their king, and they were willing to prepare for this battle under his leadership. Now comes the story which is mentioned in the Quran, that as they are proceeding towards Palestine under the leadership of Talut, who's the ruler, their king, there is a river that comes in between. And Hazrat, their Nabi, Hazrat Shamuil alayhi salam, he wanted to test that within the Bani Israel, who are the people who are truly loyal, who are the ones who are truly sincere, the ones who are really obedient to their Nabi. Because the enemy was very strong, and they were strong, agile, powerful people. And in order to defeat the enemy, you had to be strong yourself. You had to be steadfast on this path. You had to be loyal. You had to be obedient. You had to be steadfast. So Hazrat Shamuil alayhi salam, he wanted to test that from my army, who are the ones who are really going to be there for me? Who are the ones who will listen to me? Who are the ones who are steadfast? So he made an announcement that and he made an announcement to the entire army that there is this river which is coming, and this river we should pass, we should cross over this river, and no one should drink water from this river. If you can drink one cup or something, half a cup, something like that, one ghurfa, that is okay, but nothing beyond that. Do not drink water to your fill. Do not store water. And this was supposed to be a test to see that who from my army, who are the ones who are loyal to me, the ones who will obey me, and who are the ones who are disloyal, who are not sincere in their devotion to me. So this was a test that he made. And the reason why he made this test was because he knew that there is this tremendous battle which is about to take place. And in this battle, we need people who are people of sabr, people of patience, people of endurance, people who are steadfast, people who are willing to listen to their leader. So he wanted to see within his army that who are the ones who have these attributes. So he made this test that don't drink water. Just drink one chullu, one cup, and that is it. Nothing beyond that. And this was a very difficult test, because the entire army, the Bani Israel, they were thirsty by this time. They were in this desert. They were preparing for battle, and now they have this water. And if they drink from that water, they can become fresh. They can refresh themselves, they rejuvenate themselves. But the hukum, the command was, do not drink, do not use this water. So this was a very big trial for them. And in the Quran-e-Kareem, Allah Ta'ala mentions that the Nabi said to them that whoever does not drink water, فَإِنَّهُ minni, he will be from me, he's from my side. And you can drink illa man ighturifa ghurfa, just once, one cup, that is okay. But not beyond that. But then the Quran mentions that فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُ, that everyone drank from that water, and only a few people abstained. Everyone, they are filling their stomach with water. They're enjoying that water, they're drinking it. And there were only a few people from the army who abstained, who followed the hukum of their Nabi, who were steadfast, who followed their Amir, their leader. So this was a test, and this was also a teaching that when you are doing something, some work of deen, then what we are supposed to do is to follow the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not give in to our desires, not give in to our nafsani or shahwani desires. Rather, one should do what Allah wants us to do. And if what person does what Allah wants us to do, then Allah Ta'ala will give us victory. Anyway, almost everyone drank from that river and only a few people abstained. Now, what was the result? When the majority drank water, now they're crossing over and the entire army, the Amalekites, are in front of them. And the leader of the Amalekites was this person by the name of Jalut, who was extremely powerful, extremely strong. And he was continuously challenging people, challenging the Bani Israel, that come to me, who can face me? Is there anyone who can face me? And when the Bani Israel, those who had drank water, when they saw Jalut, they started saying that La taqata lana al-yawma bi Jalut wa junudihi, that we do not have the taqat, the power, the ability to fight Jalut and his army. This was the statement of those who had drank water. Right? Those who failed that test. They said that we don't have the ability to fight. And on the other hand, those who had abstained from drinking water, those who had obeyed their leader, when they saw Jalut in front of them, this entire army, strong, powerful army, the enemy in front of them, laden with weapons, and they replied and they said that Kam min fi'atin qalila. Kam min fi'atin qalila ghalabat fi'atan kathira bi'iznillah. That how many times it has happened that a small group has overcome a large group by the permission of Allah, by the izn of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu ma'as sabirin, and Allah ta'ala is with those who do sabr. So this was the statement of those who had obeyed their Nabi. On their tongue, Allah Ta'ala put these words, they were steadfast. They said that this victory is not in the hands of any individual. Victory lies in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so many times it has happened that a small group has won over a large group by the izn of Allah, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they said this, and they said that even if you are small, Khalil, a small group, there's no need to be scared about this. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help is with those who believe in Him, is with those who trust Him. And so on one side, they said this statement, they made this statement that many times small group, they are victorious over a big group. And then the next thing is that they made this dua to Allah Ta'ala. Which dua? This dua that we have here. Rabbana afrigh alayna sabran. This is the occasion, this is the time when they're seeing the army in front of them, right? So they make two set statements. First is that how many times it has happened that a small group has won over a big group. And second statement is their dua that they're making to Allah Ta'ala, that oh Allah, pour this sabr upon us and make us steadfast, make our feet steadfast on the path, firmly implant our feet, and Allah grant us victory over the disbelievers. So this is the time when they're making this dua. That yes, sometimes, many times a small group can attain victory over a big group, but that only happens with the tawfiq of Allah. And this tawfiq from Allah Ta'ala comes with sabr. When you exercise sabr, when you have patience, when you are steadfast, and then Allah Ta'ala will help you. Allah will help you against the enemy. So the words that they are using in their dua, the first part of their dua is, and we'll analyze the dua now one by one. There are three parts. The first part is Rabbana afrigh alayna sabra. That, oh our Rabb, and again we did this commentary of Rabb last time, yesterday, that Rabb, oh our Lord. So not calling Allah Ta'ala by his name, Allahumma, rather Rabbana, invoking that rububiyyah, that Allah, you are our cherisher, our nurturer, our nourisher, our sustainer, our protector, our guardian. You are the one who have raised us up. You have raised us up, and continually every single second of our life, Allah, you are providing for our needs, whether worldly needs or spiritual needs. Allah, you are our Rabb. So invoking that relationship of Rububiyyah, Rabbana, and then Afrigh alayna sabran. That Allah, pour this sabr upon us. The word Afrigh means to pour. Pour. Now, what is interesting is that they could have also made dua and said that Allah, give us sabr. Allah, grant us sabr. Allah, make us amongst the sabirin. But no. Afrigh alayna sabr. Allah, pour sabr upon us. As if sabr is like a drink. It's like something that you drink. And they're saying, Allah, just pour this sabr into us. Right? Pour this sabr inside of us. As if there's something to drink. Actually, if there is something to drink, there are different ways in which you can drink it. Right? So if you have like a glass of water, the way normally you drink a glass of water is that you take that glass, you lift that glass of water, and that's your choice. You're doing it out of your own choice, your free will. Right? That this glass of water is in front of you, and you can drink it. And you drink it voluntarily with your own choice. You pick that glass up, you bring that glass close to your mouth, and then you gulp, and you drink that water. This is the normal way of drinking a glass of water. But then there is also another situation where there is a person who doesn't believe, who doesn't want to drink. Sometimes, kids, children, they don't want to drink. Especially when you give them some medicine, right? A cough syrup, they don't want to drink. So now they don't want to drink themselves. So what do? You just pour that medicine into their mouth, right? You just pour it inside. They don't want to drink it themselves. But you, the parent, the mother, the father, you pour that syrup into their mouth. So what does that mean? It means that this dua, they're saying that Allah, we are weak. Allah, we are very, very weak. And we are fighting, we are about to face this enemy, which is so strong. Allah, we ask you that you pour this sabr inside of us. That voluntarily on our own, we don't want to drink a sip of sabr. We don't want to drink sabr on our own, because what we are seeing in front of us, this enemy is so strong. They're so powerful. And they have such a tremendous height. And we are few, and they are so many. There's a large group. We are a small group. So we cannot bring ourselves to sabr. We are not able to get sabr on our own. We cannot drink this sabr on our own. Right? Allah, you just pour this sabr into us. And we don't have, this sabr is not something that we can get on our own, because the scene in front of us is so daunting. It's so frightening that voluntarily we are not able to pick up this glass of sabr and drink it for ourselves. We don't find anything within us that is motivating us to get this sabr, to drink this sabr. Allah, you just pour this sabr inside of us. Afrigh alayna sabra. And keep on pouring it inside, pouring it, fill us. Fill us completely with this sabr. Now, what is sabr? What is this dua that they're making? That sabr which they're asking Allah Ta'ala, that Allah pour this sabr inside of us. And they're asking this when they're facing this enemy, right? What is this sabr? Normally, the way we translate sabr is that when there is some calamity or difficulty in your life, and some stress, some worry, some anxiety, and then you exercise a bit of patience. That is the normal meaning of sabr. But in the terminology of the Quran Kareem, sabr has a very broad, a very expansive meaning. And what is that meaning? Sabr means that a person, they fight against their nafsani desires, those desires which are going contrary to the wish of Allah Ta'ala. You fight those desires, you fight those temptations, you fight those feelings which are coming from within, you fight those whisperings, you fight those insinuations, you fight those jazbat. You control yourself, you fight this lower self, your nafs. This is sabr, that you can fight your nafs and you prevent your nafs from the disobedience of Allah Ta'ala. This is that sabr. So we see here, right, that these people, they asked Allah Ta'ala for sabr in this context because they saw that they're proceeding towards the enemy and their nafs is saying that you're fighting this Jalut. He's so tall and strong and powerful, and look at you, right? There's no match. Why don't you go back? That's what the nafs is saying to them, right? That's what the nafs is saying. But in competition to this nafs, right, they are battling this nafs and they're asking Allah, Allah, give us sabr against this nafs. Pour sabr upon us so that we can fight. So when they asked Allah Ta'ala for this sabr, then the next thing is they asked Allah, wasabbit akdamana. Now this is the second thing. That Allah make us steadfast, firmly plant our feet on the ground. When you get sabr, now when you have this desire to battle your nafs, you want to fight your nafs, you get that courage that I'm willing to fight my nafs, the desires of my nafs, then the next thing to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, Allah, make me steadfast. No matter how strong the enemy is, how powerful the enemy is, Allah, make me steadfast against him. And when we will be steadfast against the enemy, then Allah's madad, the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come. Fansurna alal qawmil kafirin. Now Allah help us against the unbeliever, this group which does not believe in you. So this is the dua that Allah Ta'ala placed in their heart. And the Quran says that when these people made this dua, right, when they made this dua and they did not drink water, like they obeyed their Nabi, and now they're standing in front of the enemy and they invoke Allah, ask Allah, they call Allah Ta'ala using this dua that Allah, we ask you for sabr, we ask you for remaining steadfast on this path, we ask you for your help. So then what happens is that in Quran Allah says, فَهَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ. So they defeated the enemy by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the result. That powerful enemy, they were able to defeat them. And in Quran Allah says, وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ. That Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, he killed the Jalut. Jalut was the leader of the enemy. He was killed by Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, who was a person from the Bani Israel. Now, how did Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam kill Jalut? That's not mentioned. The details are not mentioned in the Quran. But very briefly, in different riwayat, we know that Jalut, like I mentioned previously, that Jalut was roaming around and saying that who wants to fight me? He was challenging. And 3 days and 3 nights had passed by. No one had taken up that challenge. Meanwhile, there was this Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, who was from the Bani Israel. He was a young man. He was in Baitul Muqaddas at some distance. And three of his elder brothers were fighting in this war. They were fighting on the side of Bani Israel. Hazrat Dawood al-Islam was very young at this time. He was with his father, doing khidmat of his father at home. When 3 days passed by, the father, he sent Hazrat Dawood al-Islam that go to the battlefield and find out what happened to your three brothers. I ask, what happened about them? Where are they? So Hazrat Dawood al-Islam, he reached the battlefield to inquire about his brother. And what he sees is that there is this enemy leader, Jalut, and he's challenging, he's calling, he's just roaming in the field and saying, is there anyone who wants to come and face me? Is there anyone who wants to fight me? So Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, when he saw this, he had a ghairat. He said that, why isn't anyone accepting his challenge? So he went to his king, Talut, and said that if you give me permission, I want to fight Jalut. So Talut, he said that, you are young and the enemy is very strong. Think about it. Do you really want to fight? So Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam said that you just give me permission, leave it up to me. So he got the permission, and then Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam went into the battlefield, and he went with a rock, with a stone in his hand. And he went to face Jalut. And then he took the name of Allah Ta'ala, said Bismillah, and he threw that stone very, intensely. He threw that stone to Jalut, on Jalut. And that stone, it hit Jalut, and Jalut died on the spot. Right? Allah Ta'ala made him die on that spot. So for this reason, in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala mentions this, that وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ, that Hazrat Dawood al-Islam, he killed Jalut. And in this way, Allah Ta'ala gave a victory to the Bani Israel, to Hazrat Shamu'il al-Islam and Talut. They were victorious. Now, this was the dua and the context. And there are several lessons that we can extract from this dua. The major lesson here, what Allah Ta'ala is teaching us, is that whenever you make a dua, before making dua, a person should do what is in their ability. You do whatever is in your istita'at, in your ability. And then you make dua to Allah Ta'ala, and then Allah Ta'ala will do what is in His ability. Allah will never reject a dua that you make like this, where you first do what you are supposed to do. And then you ask Allah Ta'ala that, Ya Allah, I did whatever I could do. Now, Ya Allah, I ask you that you help me. Allah, you complete this task for me. The problem that we have, the mistake that we make, is that many times we are not doing the task that we are supposed to do. We are doing the exact opposite. And the dua that we are making is that, Allah, give me salvation. Allah, give me this. And we are not doing the things that we are supposed to do, that we have the ability to do. And we are asking Allah Ta'ala for something totally opposite. Like, for example, here, we see that this Bani Israel, the few people, the loyal people, the obedient people, what was in their ability was simply, they were told that do not drink water from this river. And they abstained from drinking and just go stand in front of the enemy. So now they're standing in front of the enemy and then just make dua to Allah. So they're making dua, Rabbana afriq alayna sabra. So this is what they were tasked to do. And they did what they had to do. And now when they did what they had to do, then Allah Ta'ala did the rest. فَهَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Allah Ta'ala defeated the enemy. So this was in their ability, right? Not drinking water, that was in their ability. Standing in front of the enemy, they took that step. Now standing in front, now making dua to Allah. So Whatever is in their ability, they did that. And then after that, when they made dua to Allah Ta'ala, then Allah Ta'ala's help came and Allah Ta'ala gave them victory. So this is teaching us a very important lesson. Now, this dua, one way that this dua applies to us is obviously in the battlefield, right? But this also applies in our life in another very, very important way, which is the jihad that we do against our nafs. And that is our whole life. This is a jihad, this is a battle that each one of us, we are facing every single moment of our life, because nafs is all with us. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that al-mujahidu man jahada nafsa. Then mujahid is that in person who fights against his nafs, who does jihad against his nafs. This nafs is our enemy. It's very strong. It's nafs ammara, commandeering nafs. It's strong, it's powerful, it's rebellious, it's disobedient to Allah. This is the Jalut of our time. This is the Jalut. This is the enemy. And this is the nafs which is leading us towards sin, which makes us do sin, which commands us to do sin, things which are impermissible, things which are haram, things which are displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are not able to control our gaze because of our nafs, not able to control our speech because of our nafs, not able to control our limbs because of our nafs. We soil ourselves because of this nafs. Our thoughts are become impure, our eyes have become impure, our tongue has become impure, our heart has unlawful desires, unlawful feelings, all unlawful emotions. All of this is because of our nafs, this nafsani, this desires of the nafs, that we give into our nafs. We don't fight our nafs. We just give in to the desires of our nafs. The nafs is so strong, nafs ammara, it commands us, and we are not able to say no to this nafs. We are abdun nafs, servants of nafs. That on the first step, when the nafs commands us to sin, we say, La taqata al-yawma li Jalut. That I don't have the taqat, don't have the ability to fight this, to fight against my nafs. We give up. On the first step, we give up. And this is, again, we see on an everyday basis, people say that, what can I do? My environment is like this. I live in a difficult environment. An environment is full of sin. How can I save myself from sin? I live in a society where people are sinning. How can I save myself from sin? Every step, people are inviting me towards sin. I go to my university, people are inviting me towards sin. I'm getting invitations of sin. My friends are engaged in sinful activities. They're inviting me to those sinful gatherings, to sinful activities. Everywhere where I look, where the people are tempting me. People are taking me in that direction of sin. What can I do? I'm so weak. I can't change my society. I can't change my friends. I can't change my situation. What can I do? How can I control my gaze? How can I control my tongue? How can I not speak a lie in this environment? How can I not backbite in this environment? I'm surrounded by people who are always backbiting. They're always lying. I'm surrounded by friends who are always misdirecting their gaze. How can I stop myself when this sin is all around me? When I'm drowning in this sin, in this sea of sin? How can I fight? When we say this now, or when we feel like this, we are actually saying the same sentence, right? We are saying this, that la taqata lana al-yawma bi Jalut, that there is no power for us today against Jalut. There is no power for us. That's what we are saying, that I don't have the power to fight in front of my nafs. I don't have any strength to fight, to say no to my nafs. Now, if we don't have the strength Don't we have enough strength to take at least one step? Can't we, at the very least, fine, we cannot leave all the sins. Maybe we are surrounded, we are drowning in a sea of sin. We cannot leave everything. But can't we make an intention to leave sin? How long does it take to make an intention? Don't we even have that much ability? I think everyone has that ability. Everyone has at least this much ability where everyone, any person can say that, I make my intention, my irada is that I don't want to sin. That much ability everyone has. Can't we make that ability? Can't we use that ability? Can't we make this irada to Allah? Can't we offer this intention to Allah? That Allah, I don't want to sin. I don't intend to sin, but I don't have the power to stay away from sin. Fine, we don't have the power. But we do have the power to make the intention that Allah, I don't want to sin. I don't intend to sin. That today, from now on, I make this intention that I will control my gaze. Actually, whether we're able to control our gaze or not, that's separate. Maybe we don't have the taqat. We don't have the ability to control our gaze. But we do have the taqat and the ability to make the intention to Allah Ta'ala. That Allah, I'm intending right now that I will not misdirect my gaze. I will not misuse my tongue. I will not misuse my ears. I will not do anything which is displeasing to you. I'm just offering my intention to you. My irada, that I will stay away from all those things which are displeasing to you. We should make this irada at the very least. At the very least, we should make this intention. That is within our ability. That is what we can do. And along with that intention, we can also make this, we can also seek forgiveness from Allah Ta'ala. That Allah Ta'ala, whatever we did in the past, Allah just, out of your rahmah, Allah just forgive me for whatever I have done in the past. Allah forgive me for the past, and for the future, Allah, I'm presenting my intention to you that I will not live a life of sin. I don't want to live a life of ghaflat. I don't want to disobey you. I don't want to displease you. Just make that intention, do that, and after that, make this dua that these people are making. Rabbana afrigh alayna sabra. Do first what is within our ability. Our ability is that we make tawbah for Allah, whatever happened in the past, and we make irada, intention, niyat, that Allah, in the future, I don't want to sin. I want to live a life of taqwa. I don't want to disobey you. Allah, this is within my ability, and this is what I'm making and offering to you. And then after that, you do what these people did, make dua, and the same dua. Rabbana afrigh alayna sabra. That, oh my Rabb, Allah, pour sabr upon me. What sabr? Which is sabr? This sabr that I can fight against the desires of my nafs. I can fight against the unlawful temptations of my nafs. I can battle against my nafs. Grant me the taqat, the ability, the endurance, the patience, the strength to be able to battle my own nafs, fight against my nafs. And Allah, make me steadfast on this. First, irada. I made irada, right? I made intention that I do not want to commit sin. I don't want to give in to my nafsani desires. I don't want to displease you, Ya Allah. I make that intention. But, Ya Allah, I know what happens is that whenever I'm in that environment of sin, whenever I go to university, whenever I go to that falah gathering, whenever I'm with that falah friends, nafs and shaitan, they take over me. When I reach that environment, when I'm in that environment, I'm not able to control my gaze. Allah, this is what has happened with me in the past. I'm not able to control my gaze. I'm not able to control my tongue. I'm not able to control my ears. When I reach there, when I reach in that environment, Allah, I tend to slip. Allah, I tend to slip. I take 2-3 steps back. I am wavering. falling down, about to fall down. So at that time, what is the next thing that you should make? The same dua. Rabbana afriq alayna sabra wa sabbit aqdamana. That in that environment, Ya Allah, when I'm about to slip, when I'm slipping, when I'm wavering, when I'm not able to hold my balance and I'm about to commit that sin, Allah grant me sabbit aqdamana. Allah grant me steadfastness on this path. Firmly plant my feet on the ground. Let me not slip in that environment. Let me not give in to my nafs. Let me not give in to that environment of sin. Let me grant me that steadfastness that I can control my gaze. I can control my ears. I can control my tongue. I don't slip when I'm in that environment. And wansurna alal qawmil kafirin. This nafs and shaitan is the real kafir, is the real unbeliever. This nafs ammara. And we're asking Allah, wansurna, Allah, in against these two things, Allah, help me. Help me, Allah, against my enemy, nafs and shaitan. Make me, sabit qadam, sabbit aqdamana. Make me steadfast against my nafs, against shaitan. So this is what we have to do. That you take one step towards Allah, half a step towards Allah, whatever you can do, whatever step you can take, you do your part, then make dua to Allah Ta'ala, the same dua, this very dua. And then what will happen when you make this dua? Allah Ta'ala says in Quran, فَهَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ that with the hukum of Allah, with the permission of Allah, you will defeat your enemy. You will defeat shaitan. You will defeat your nafs. You will defeat all those temptations which are coming from your nafs. You will not give in to the desires of your nafs. Allah will protect you. Bi-iznillah, with the hukum of Allah, you will be able to save yourself from the deceptions of shaitan, the delusions of nafs and shaitan, the temptations of nafs and shaitan, the whisperings of nafs and shaitan. Wa qatala Dawood Jaluta. And just like Hazrat Dawood al-Islam, he killed Jalut. So in a similar way, the nafs and shaitan and the desires of nafs, which were appearing so great and big and powerful to you, you will defeat those desires. You will overcome those desires. This is what Allah Ta'ala is saying. Ask from me. Ask me. This is the summary of this dua. Again, the summary of this dua is that just walk a few steps towards Allah Ta'ala. Whatever steps you can take those steps. 2 steps, one step, half a step. Do whatever you can do. If nothing else, just make niyat. Just make irada. Just make an intention that, Ya Allah, I don't want to sin. I don't want to give in to my nafs. Just make that, if nothing else. Just take half a step towards Allah Ta'ala. And then make dua to Allah Ta'ala. That, Ya Allah, right now I'm doing jihad against my nafs and shaitan. This is the battle that I'm facing. And Ya Allah, I ask you, Allah, we ask you that pour sabr upon me. Allah, pour this patience upon me. I am so weak. I am so unworthy. I am so undeserving that I don't even have the ability to lift this glass of sabr and drink myself. I'm not even prepared to drink a glass of sabr on my own. That's how unworthy I am. That's how unprepared I am. That's how undeserving I am. Ya Allah, you force this sabr over me. Just like a child who is force fed, right? Allah, you force feed this sabr to me. Forcibly, Allah, pour this sabr upon me. And then Allah, make us steadfast, firmly establish my feet. That when I'm really fighting this battle, when I'm in those places of sin, places of ghafla, the market, the street, the universities or hospitals, when I'm in that environment where people are ghaflat, there's ghafla, people are sinning, Allah, in that environment, Allah was sabbit akdamana. Allah firmly establish my feet so that I don't waver, I don't slip, I'm not tempted, I don't give in to those temptations, I don't fall down. Allah firmly establish my feet in that environment. We should make this dua. Make this dua with this niyat, with this intention. And also many times, and another occasion to recite this dua is when you intend to go somewhere where you fear that I might slip. So before going to that place, before going to that gathering, make this dua. First make this dua, and then on the way, along the way, throughout the way, continue making this dua. That, Ya Allah, I'm going to such a gathering where I fear that I may not be able to control my gaze. It might be a mixed gathering. I fear that I might misdirect my gaze. Allah, I'm going to a place where I fear that other people will be around and I might end up backbiting. I might slip with my tongue. I'm going to a place, I'm going to my work. In my workplace, Allah, I fear that I might end up committing some sin there. I'm going to my university. Allah, I fear that while I'm at the university, I may not be able to control my gaze, might not be able to control my tongue, might not be able to control my ear. I'm going to my office, right? I fear that I may not be able to control myself. When you are going to such places where you fear that you may not be able to stay away from sin, that is a time to make dua. Make dua before leaving your house, and throughout the journey, keep making this dua, keep making this dua. Learn, memorize this dua, and throughout the journey, make this dua. That Allah pour sabr over me. Allah pour sabr over me. Make me steadfast in that place. And Allah give me victory over my nafs and shaitan. And inshallah, if we make this dua, then Allah Ta'ala inshallah will give us that sabr. Allah Ta'ala will give us that sabit qadmi, will firmly establish our feet. And inshallah, Allah Ta'ala will give us that victory over our nafs and shaitan. We just need to ask Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala is willing to give. We just need to ask Allah Ta'ala. Keep asking Allah Ta'ala. What we do is we don't ask Allah Ta'ala. We just, make excuses that my environment is so bad and people are so bad and gathering is so bad and I'm drowning in a sea. We need to finish our excuses and just turn to Allah Ta'ala with this dua. And if we turn to Allah Ta'ala with this dua, then inshallah Allah Ta'ala will give us an exit from our sins. Kam min fi'atin qalila ghalabat fi'atin kathira bi'iznillah. How many times it has happened that a small group, a weak group, weak people, they are able to dominate a large group, a stronger group. Allah Ta'ala can give you exit from this sin. Or Allah Ta'ala can give the tawfiq to make tawbah. So whenever a person is going to a place of ghaflat or sin, even bazaar, even your markets. In hadith it comes that the markets are the most mabghuz places in the sight of Allah, where there is a reprehensible places. There is a lot of temptation of sin and ghafla, where you can sin with your eyes, with your tongue, So when you go to such places, before going, make this dua. This is a dua that Allah Ta'ala is teaching us in the Quran. And like I mentioned previously as well, that this is a dua that Allah Ta'ala Himself is teaching us in the Quran. Then make this dua. So this is a kubuliyat wali dua. When Allah Ta'ala is teaching us that make dua to me like this, and if you make dua like that, then why wouldn't Allah Ta'ala accept it? Right? Like a person, when he says that, ask me like this, and I will give it to you. And then you ask like that, and doesn't give it to you. Well, that's, we'll say, what kind of an individual are you? You can't conceive of that in a human relationship. This is Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala is Arhamur Rahimeen, Akramul Akrameen. When Allah Ta'ala is teaching us in the Quran Himself, then make dua to me like this, means that Allah wants to give it to us. He will accept it. So make dua like that, make dua like this, and inshallah, this dua will be accepted. Allah Ta'ala, may Allah Ta'ala make all of us the tawfiq, grant all of us the tawfiq that we can become embodiment of this dua. Sabr is a tremendous blessing from Allah. Jannat, inshallah, if we get Jannat will be a result of sabr. Only because of sabr will a person be able to enter Jannah. And that's why, because Jannat is based upon sabr, we should keep asking Allah Ta'ala for sabr. That Allah give us sabr. And what is sabr? Allah make us firm against our nafs and shaitan. This is our real enemy, the real battle. Allah make us firm. We can defeat our nafs and shaitan. This is the dua that we should ask Allah Ta'ala for. And this is the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is called Shahru Sabr. It's the month of Sabr. This is a month which is giving us the training in Sabr. Like Allah Ta'ala is saying, don't drink. You're fasting. Don't eat. Don't drink. Don't have relations. Right? This is all a test which Allah Ta'ala has placed so that to see that who are the ones who are obedient and loyal, and those who are the ones who are not obeying. And this is a test. So this is a beautiful opportunity, a beautiful month where we can ask Allah Ta'ala for this sabr and keep making this dua so that before the month of Ramadan ends, we keep asking Allah Ta'ala for this. Keep asking Allah Ta'ala for these things. Sabr. Allah, give me sabr. Pour sabr over me. Allah, pour istiqamat over me. Make me steadfast. Firmly plant my feet on the ground. Establish me on the Quran, Sunnah, and Sharia. Whatever the environment, whatever my friends, whatever the company, whatever the temptations, the trials, the sins, Allah, make me have istiqamat on the deen. Allah, give me that strength to stay away from sin. Give me that desire to stay away from sin. Give me that himmat, that determination to stay away from sin. Keep making this dua. So we make dua to Allah Ta'ala that may Allah Ta'ala enable all of us that we can do amal on these teachings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us sabr, pour sabr over all of us. May Allah Ta'ala grant us istiqamat in our deen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us victory over our nafs and shaitan. May Allah Ta'ala save us from the deceptions and the temptations of nafs and shaitan. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.